Oh yes, we are recording this video call. So just so everybody knows, at the conclusion of this call, we will be sending an email out, as we did in the fall, with the recording from this call, as well as a kind of written up Q&A of any of the questions that come up. We did have a call previous to this that was a little bit smaller of a call with our local producers. And so we will integrate the questions that came up from that call with this one and put it into one file for everyone. For those who I haven't had the privilege of meeting yet or we didn't get to see each other on the fall call. My name is Maggie Hiley. I am the Division Director of Consumer Purchasing and Merchandising here at the DABS. So welcome, thank you for joining. Appreciate having you on the call. And I would also like to briefly introduce two members of our executive team who are on the call with us today as well. So first, my amazing boss, Jeremy. Jeremy Summerlath is our Managing Director of Operations. So he oversees the three key operations divisions, our division, purchasing and merchandising, as well as our retail enterprise and the warehouse distribution center. So thank you for being on the call with us, Jeremy. And then we also have Erica Evans on the call to kick off the call with us today too. And Erica is our Executive Director of the DABS. And so Erica, thanks for being here to say hi to everybody and get us kicked off.
Thanks, Maggie. Hey, everybody. Erica Evans, new-ish executive director, been in the role since about August, so coming up on 6 months. Excited to be here and say hello virtually to all of you. Some of you I've met, a lot of you I have not. So taking this opportunity to just say hello, as Maggie said. I also want to just thank you all for the role that you play in really helping us achieve our mission in the bigger picture in creating economic development, supporting tourism, supporting all of that in Utah. I acknowledge there's been quite a bit of change over at the Department of Alcohol. I am a part of that change, so very well aware of that. You've seen some changes in our purchasing and merchandising team now with Maggie, and then we've introduced Jeremy. Kind of a coincidence that Rob and Tony, who you interacted with previously, retired at the same time. Kind of forcing a reorganization and a reevaluation of how we do our processes. Yeah, that process started before I got here, but I want to say that I think the purchasing and merchandising team has done a tremendous job in moving the needle forward and really being good partners with each of you. So excited to keep working with you all and building on what has been working over the last while. Couple priorities just for you guys to hear from me in our interactions with you. One is clear, consistent communication with all of you, with all the vendors. I think you've seen some of that and how we've been really striving to make that happen under Maggie's leadership. You've seen even today is a piece of that, right? Giving a forum to talk through changes, to give you the opportunity to ask questions. So it's a big focus for us. And then I also want to our other priority is fair, consistent, and data-driven decision-making in our purchasing and merchandising teams. So, and particularly in our delisting and listing processes. So you're talking through some of that. We've been talking internally about how to make us the best we can be. But I want you to hear that that is a priority for us as well. And I think it makes us all successful. I also want to highlight it's important for you to provide feedback. Your feedback helps us improve processes. So we're really grateful to see how many of you are on this call and taking the opportunity to do so. Thank you for collaborating with us, and please feel empowered to continue to do so in more direct forums as well. I have every confidence in the purchasing and merchandising team. Maggie mentioned Jeremy Summerlath as well. He's stepped in as Managing Director of Operations. Some of you may remember Cade Meyer. So Jeremy has stepped into what Cade used to fulfill and oversees really our whole supply chain, as Maggie talked about. So Jeremy and Maggie and the entire purchasing and merchandising team. I really feel good about where this is all going. Please continue to engage through direct outreach, however it works for you. You can reach out to me through my executive assistant, Melissa Suarez. She's on the call now, but we can get you her email. And I just look forward to continue to working with you all and creating a successful partnership and ensuring strong and responsible alcohol service in Utah. So that's all I have to say. Maggie's going to really take it away from here, and she'll guide you through. So appreciate you giving me some time.
Thanks, Erica. All right. Well, our last video call was in August. We were just coming to the completion of a listing period, and quite a bit has evolved since then. So today's meeting is intended to provide a brief update on a few key priorities that we introduced back in the fall, and then really to focus on walking through the details of this current spring new item listing cycle, which will include the timing, the expectations, and the next steps. Oh, I forgot to move to the high slide. Um, so this meeting, Erica mentioned this when she was talking as well. This meeting, along with our ongoing communications, which have been primarily through email, is part of a really deliberate effort on our part to stay transparent and to ensure that we're collaborating in a meaningful and productive way with each of you. I appreciate the feedback that many of you have shared. Please do continue to let me or anyone on the team know your feedback, your thoughts, whether it's things that are working well or where you may have suggestions that we can evolve or improve. We really are on a mission of continuous improvement. We are evaluating all of our processes and ways of working to identify where we can get better, where we can evolve, where we can modernize. And you see a lot and you have a lot of exposure. And so please do pass along that feedback to us. It's appreciated, and we do take it to heart and use it to help us plan how we want to prioritize going forward. Just a little bit on logistics for this meeting. To keep everything efficient, with this many people on the call, probably like raising hands or unmuting yourself is going to be a little bit challenging. But feel free to drop questions into the chat at any time. We will address a few along the way, especially when we get to the listing cycle and we have it kind of bucketed into different sections. We can take a pause to address any questions that might be relevant to that particular part. And then at the end, we do have some time held to be able to talk through any questions that, may be more general in nature, or anything we didn't get to address earlier. If we don't get to your question, no worries. As we did in the fall, we will distribute a recording of this, the slides from this, and we will also include the written responses to the submitted questions. All right, so let's get started. On our last video call, we introduced quite a few strategic shifts in the evolution of our product and category evaluation process. So this included clearer value-based metrics that are aligned with industry standards, a more category-driven analytical approach, and stronger accountability around timelines. And I'm very happy to share that we considered that fall 2025 evaluation cycle very successful. We stayed on schedule, we delivered strong results, and we did in the process of all of that receive some quite positive feedback from many of you. So hopefully you found that process and some of the shifts and evolution we made helpful as well. We were able to bring meaningful variety and innovation into several of our categories and then get those products to shelf efficiently. So we're giving that one a check mark that we feel really good about it. If there was anything that really stood out to you that you feel is important to share and can help us along on our journey, please do so. But we're quite happy with what we achieved and what we learned from that. Our retail footprint continues to grow. We successfully opened store 53 in Marriott Slaterville, as well as the new store 23 in Roy. So hopefully, some of you have been able to make it to those new, what I would consider flagship stores. Pretty exciting new evolution of our retail presence in the state. Our next milestone is going to be the opening of store 27 in Moab, which will be coming up here in just a couple weeks on February 2nd. So that is going to be for those of you who have been to the current Moab store, that is going to be a significant expansion of our retail footprint in that area. Quite a big expansion to the assortment. And we're really excited to bring what I would consider an elevated experience to that really unique market in our state. So that's kind of the next one on the list that we're all excited about. And then finally, as an update from last time, our consumer purchasing and merchandising team realignment, which we initiated and began discussing on that last call, we are now fully transitioned. So we are operating under a model that was really designed to clarify roles and to strengthen accountability. And that's both internally within and amongst our team, but also in how we partner with you. And on the next slide, we'll walk through what that structure looks like. But I'm just going to pause for one moment if there's any questions or comments on the progress against some of these key priorities that we just walked through. No? Okay.
Maggie, are you sharing a presentation?
Yes.
'Cause I don't, on my end, I don't, or sorry, it could just be my computer. It might just be my computer, actually. I think it froze. Sorry about that.
Is everybody else
Maggie.
seeing the deck? Yeah.
I see it, Maggie. I can
Okay.
see it.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Maggie, it's probably my computer.
Okay. Did you get it figured out?
I'm gonna get out and get back in. I think I've had issues on
Desi.
it. I think it's mine.
Does he check at the top of the screen? There may be a tab
Yeah,
for
I'm
this
on
meeting and
it,
one that's
but
okay.
I think my computer is frozen just on faces. So I'm just gonna get out and get back
Gotcha.
in. It's mine.
Okay.
Okay. Goodbye.
Sorry about that.
Goodbye, hello, when you come back on. All right, as a reminder from our last meeting, this is the graphic depiction of how we've unified our purchasing and merchandising efforts into one single integrated structure. And with some of the changes we made, just want to make sure you understand how you and your teams will engage across the division. So the first kind of key pillar you see here off to the left is the function that we are now calling vendor management. And so and we have the vendor managers assigned alphabetically by vendor name that is in our system. And we have that reflected here so you can confirm who your vendor manager is. So your assigned vendor manager, whether that is Pam, Dominic, or Jason, or Matt, will remain your primary point of contact for all your day-to-day operational needs. So this will include product ordering, warehouse coordination, any product status changes or updates, and just really general execution of the day-to-day business. Chris continues to run our special order program. Thank you, Chris. That is quite, there's a lot that goes on there. And then the next pillar you see here is what we're now calling category management. And so this is the group who's making the strategic assortment decisions. And the team is led by our two now assigned category managers. So Erica Grace is managing all of the spirits and, well, we call it beer, but there's a lot of things that we sort of, anything that's not wine is Erica. And then Doug Keats is managing all of our wine categories. And so Doug and Erica are responsible for category health and growth, for the new item listing cycles, and for longer term assortment strategy. So as you're thinking about the various ways that you engage with us, a few, one new face, which is Dominic, who some of you haven't met yet, some faces in different places, but hopefully that can help provide some guidance. Our plan operationally as we work with you on the day-to-day kind of activities, like I said, you'll be working primarily with your vendor manager. As we're in a new item listing cycle right now, we try to include everybody who touches your business into those meetings and those interactions. So a number of people who will be part of the collective team here. One of the most significant shifts in our division is the tighter integration between category management, inventory management, and space planning. So we now operate as a unified team to ensure that every approved item has a physical home on the shelf and appropriate distribution, and really managing that as an end-to-end or full circle approach to help really reduce friction and improve execution across the whole system. Okay, good. I'm just kind of checking in on the chat. Any questions on the organization and who to go to for what? Okay. All right. Well, let's move into the current new item listing cycle. We did post on the website and send an announcement email just before the holidays. So hopefully most or all of you have the overall structure, but we thought today would be a great opportunity to really walk through the specifics and answer any questions related to that. So let's start with the categories that we will be focused on for this period. And for this cycle, we will be focusing on beer, cider, RTDs, which were just all inclusive in the ready to drink segment. So that would be spirits-based RTDs, wine-based RTDs, and FMBs. For legislative and statute reasons, we categorize those differently technically in our system, but from a consumer consumption and usage standpoint, they're all interchangeable. And so we want to make sure that we evaluate them collectively as one category, since that's how the consumer shops them. Soju is another category that we'll be evaluating this cycle. We've seen a lot of momentum and growth in the soju category, especially here in Utah. On the straight spirits side, we will be looking at the vodka category. And so that will be like regular vodka as well as flavored vodka. We will be looking at what we're calling alternate spirit sizes. So these would be the 200 or 375 mLs as well as the larger sizes. And that's across all spirits categories, not just vodka. So vodka in the 750s and then all spirits categories in the smaller and larger sizes. And then pretty much, well, yep, any white wine. So domestic white wines, international white wines, all regions, all styles. We are just pulling them all together into, well, I guess 2 categories of domestic and international white wines. And then also within the wine categories, what we're calling small package wines. So these would be both 375s as well as some of the alternate formats like Tetra for the wines. So a different approach that we've taken before. It's narrow in that it's only a certain number of categories, but obviously broad in that within those categories, we're looking across regions, across styles, across price points. And that is an intentional move that we're making so that we can stay open and responsive to where there are gaps and opportunities or new innovation that we want to make sure that we can benefit from in a timely manner and not be too restricted into specific price bands. I'm glancing up here at some of the comments. 187s we cannot look at. We do need to be 200 ml or larger in Utah. Kind of my last thing on this, and then if there's any more questions, we can look into that. Just from an overall process standpoint, we are now managing our categories fully end to end. So for each of these categories that we're focused on, from delisting to really identifying trends and gaps and opportunities and bringing in new innovation and variety through new listings, through to space planning and distribution planning. So it's really the end to end on each of these categories. We've had some questions about submissions that fall outside of these focus categories. We will look at submissions that are exceptions to these categories, but just want to express that it would be really rare and definitively an exception for us to bring something in that's outside of these categories. Certainly, if there's some real time sensitivity or urgency of why a particular item needs to be evaluated now rather than its category cycle, we want to understand and be aware of that. The real constraint on our end is, since we're managing this end to end, we are only going to be updating planograms for these categories that we're evaluating. So for us to bring in an item that's not one of these categories, we just simply don't have an efficient path to distribution. And so that's what's driving sort of this strategic change to really managing categories end to end, is part of what becomes limiting on evaluating items that fall out of category. Okay, so I'm going to pause for a second. Any questions related to these categories? One question is, are rosé wines considered to be white wines? No, we will do rosé wines as a separate category. Can you share the future listing schedule so we can anticipate upcoming category opportunities? We will be sharing the future listing schedule. We're not doing that today. It will come shortly. As a bit of a heads up, we have done a really thorough update to our vendor manual, and the listing cycle and the procedures are all going to be part of that. We're just doing some kind of final tweaks on that, but we are planning to release that hopefully in like mid-March. And part of that release will include what the listing cycles are going to look like for the rest of the year. I know that when we released the email about this cycle, we did make reference to this. So some of you are quite astute and caught the reference that we will be moving to 4 listing cycles this year rather than the traditional 2. So those will be approximately quarterly throughout the year. And the pacing of that is that we will be evaluating every category at least once annually, at least once throughout the year. And then the categories that are really kind of trending and have more innovation happening in them, we will evaluate more frequently than just once a year, again, to make sure that we don't miss out on any opportunities for new innovation or variety. Because like RTDs, for example, right? One of the few growing categories and a lot of new innovation happening there. And so we feel like we need to evaluate that a little more frequently to not miss out on any opportunities. Okay. I have asked Doug and Erica to help me out with monitoring the chat. So Doug or Erica, anything that we want to prioritize addressing now before we move on?
I think we're
Okay.
responding.
Okay.
Yeah, we're trying to
Very good.
respond as they come through.
Okay, if there's any that would benefit from kind of broader discussion amongst the group, just flag those and let's stop at one of the next points and we can make sure that everybody can see it in case not everybody's monitoring the chat string. Okay. All right, here are the critical dates for this cycle. So as far as submission goes, all new item applications must be submitted by January 31st, and those do need to be submitted through the online licensing and permitting system. For presentations, we are hosting optional virtual presentations throughout the month of January. We are scheduling these as 30-minute sessions, and they are intended to provide any additional context that might be helpful for you to share or for us to hear or for both. I do want to call out that these presentation meetings are absolutely optional. Choosing to present or not to present will not have any bearing one way or another or impact your item's evaluation. It's just simply a sort of value add benefit we wanted to offer for those who want to take advantage of that. So if that is something that you would like to still sneak in this last week and a half, please reach out to myself or Doug or Erica to schedule a time. Okay, decisions. Delisting notifications will be sent by February 2nd. And that will be followed by listing decisions that will be communicated by March 2nd. And then for items that are selected to go into distribution, inventory must arrive at our warehouse by April 15th in order to support May 2026 targeted on-shelf timing. Okay, I'm just kind of looking through questions that we got here. Yeah, non-elk wines. We don't do any non-elk at the DABS. Oh, good. Okay, Doug and Erica, you guys have this covered. Okay. All right, I will move on. So, as part of our full circle approach, we do consider delisting to play a really strategic role in overall category management. Definitely not just simply an exercise to remove items. It does play a really critical role to create space for new innovation and variety, and to help us ensure that our shelf space is working efficiently. We have had a lot of questions about how we make delisting decisions and how we do our listing evaluations. So that's what we want to walk through, is to make that transparent and to answer any additional questions you have. So as far as delisting reviews, we are evaluating products using a structured 3-test model. And this we pioneered last fall with a lot of input that came from many of you. And so we integrated it. It worked quite well. We got some positive feedback on it. So we are going to continue operating in this mode. So the three metrics that we will be highly dependent on, the first is total dollar sales, and this is on a rolling 52 week. This is at a total category level. Also at total category level is sales velocity, so dollar sales per store, and that measure is especially critical because it neutralizes distribution. So whether an item is in 48 stores and another item is in 7 stores, that velocity measure equivalizes across both of those. And then the third piece is competitive positioning within a subcategory or price tier. So we will be looking at total revenue and sales velocity across the total category. And then we will also be evaluating each category by, and it depends on the category. For the wines, we do regional analysis. For spirits, we do price bands, but that factors in as that third element. And essentially, the way that this works is we're looking at the top 20% of items on each metric, right? Because those are our star performers that are really driving the category. We are looking at the bottom 20%, which are the items that aren't as productive, and perhaps dragging the category down against the potential. And then we have that middle 60% that are kind of the core performers that keep the lights on. And so what we're looking at are the items that consistently fall into that bottom 20%. So an item that's in the bottom 20% of the category for retail sales, the bottom 20% of the category on a velocity standpoint, and within its particular subcategory or price band is also in the bottom 20%, that item will be recommended for delisting. If an item falls in that bottom 20% on 2 metrics, but then it's up in mid or maybe even top on another metric, then obviously we do some qualitative factoring to understand the dynamic and the unique role or strategy that item plays, that it can have some volatility like that. I will say, in addition to these quantitative metrics, we do also consider fulfillment reliability. So, just full disclosure, chronic out of stocks, supply disruptions, those kind of factors will be considered as qualitative assessments as part of the review. So as we do this review, the outcomes will fall into 3 categories. The first are items that we will retain. So if the item meets performance expectations, it will remain in the assortment. The second piece is probation, which I really am going to be on a mission to find a better word for this that doesn't sound so schoolish. But items that underperform, and that would be like maybe, it hits one of those 3 metrics in the bottom 20% or perhaps 2 of them, those will enter a roughly 6-month probation period. You will receive written notice, and then we will monitor velocity and in-stock compliance pretty closely on those items, and be working together on what are some plans or some action that we can put in place to try to boost these items to get them back into that middle area. If an item is on probation during that time, we may opt to reduce store count to prioritize higher velocity items. But that will be discussed collaboratively so everybody understands the situation and what's happening. And then the third outcome from this analysis are items that are going to be recommended for delisting. So as we talked, if an item fails those performance tests and does not meet any qualitative exceptions, it will be slated for removal. And if an item is recommended for delisting, you will receive written notification. And we introduced this last fall. We will continue it here for spring, a 14-day appeal period. So you'll have 14 calendar days to submit a written appeal for that delisting recommendation. And that can be really helpful, right? Because we're going to see what the data tells us, but you have additional line of sight and understanding to other market dynamics and factors that we may not be aware of. And so that is the intent of this appeal period. So if there is some historical context or operational data or some market dynamic that you want to make sure that we are aware of, to consider in that is the whole point of the appeal process, and that is what we would like you to let us know about. I would just like to call out that that is very valuable information to us to help us make the best decision. But what will not be considered as part of the appeal process or to make a reversal would be any future marketing plans or hypothetical initiatives of what we could do with this item. But additional context on where we've been and what's been happening is absolutely important for us to have collective understanding of. All right, I'll take a pause here. Doug, Erica, anything that has come up on the chat that we want to broadcast more broadly related to delistings?
Nope.
Okay. This is a little too easy, everybody. All right. Once the submission window closes on January 31st, we will move into a structured multi-phase evaluation process. And again, this process is what we have traditionally followed, but I don't know how transparently it has been communicated what this process looks like. So we just want to make sure that everybody has visibility to know how this works. So we begin with a, I would say, quite rigorous initial screening. It's important to note that the majority of items do get declined at this initial screening stage, and that really is simply a factor of the sheer quantity of submissions that we receive versus the realistic number of items that we're able to bring in. So it's not that we at all enjoy saying no to items, because honestly, I have to tell you, the best part of this job is I'm like a kid in a candy store of how exciting it is to see all these new items and new innovation. But we do have constraints, most notably how much space we have on our shelves for what we can bring in. So the vast majority of items do get declined at this initial screening stage. A limited number of submissions, those that most closely align with our current category goals, will advance to the next stage of the process, which is a formal committee review. To advance to that committee review, the submissions need to demonstrate strength across three really key pillars. So the first we're calling strategic fit. So this is this item filling a specific gap or opportunity in our category that we aren't already meeting that need through another item? Or is it, redundant, right? So we're going to be looking at that. What makes this item something new, different, and filling a specific need that's not already getting met by our current assortment? Um, and you will notice for any of you who have already submitted a new item listing submission, you will have seen this. Those of you who have not yet, you will see it. We did add a new section to the submission form, which is about marketing and sales strategy. And there are some open-ended questions in there that are directly aligned with this strategic fit. So we're specifically asking for what trends, gaps, opportunities, unmet consumer needs is this item addressing? So it's a really great opportunity for you to be able to help tell the story and facilitate why this fills a unique role within our category. The second pillar is what we're calling product excellence. So we will assess both the quality of the product as well as its shelf presence. Some of you who did have items advanced to committee review in the fall discovered that we have incorporated sample tasting into the evaluation process for some of the items that go to committee review. And so that sample tasting of the product, as well as the product's kind of presentation, will be considered as part of what we're calling product excellence. And then the third pillar is operational readiness. And so this is where the category management team will be working in close collaboration with the vendor management team to evaluate and understand the track record of fulfillment reliability, and making sure that we're factoring in what that kind of supply reliability. This is also where we will be reviewing the specific support that you've committed to the Utah market. So all notifications, whether an item is declined or approved, will be sent through that online licensing and permitting system. And I would just say, given the highly competitive nature of all of our listing cycles, and I expect this one to be the same, we do encourage you to ensure that your submissions are as comprehensive as possible and, really help set up and frame what is unique and different to make sure that we consider about the items that you're submitting. All right, I'll take another little pause here. Any questions specifically on listing? Most of these look like they are getting well addressed. If something, and again, we'll publish all of the questions and responses as follow-up from here too. Okay, lastly, I want to talk through product trades. This is something that we are kind of formalizing, if you will, and incorporating into the process. Product trades allow you to proactively propose replacing a slower moving item with a new product. Trades are highly requested to be within category. Cross-category trades are significantly more complicated, and it would really be an exception to consider those. But within the category, if you have an item that is in distribution that is not, not moving as well as we or you would like it to, you think that you have some other opportunities that are kind of more on trend, more reflective of where you see higher growth and velocity across the country, this is the opportunity to proactively bring that forward to us. So the trades must be submitted during the appropriate category cycle and submitted through the portal as a new item submission. So if you have a trade that you're requesting, you submit it as a new item, and just in the context of why should we take this item? In the context of those new areas that we opened up, that is the appropriate place for you to explain what item you are proposing you trade this for and why. So just note that proposed trades are not automatic approvals. The proposed new item will be evaluated using the same standards as any other submission. And if approved, you will be expected to execute a plan to clear the remaining inventory of the replaced item. And this really, again, is for efficiency of the space. That's why trades work well, right? Our goal is a really disciplined one in, one out strategy that can strengthen our overall assortment without creating any inventory bottlenecks. And that is what we had planned to cover today. So we do have some time left. If there's other questions that maybe haven't come up in the chat string yet, and I can start to address some of these now that I'm not focused on specific slides as well.
Maggie, do you want to just touch briefly on our new distribution plan? There's been several requests of how many stores and why not all stores.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's talk through that. So our current new item distribution strategy is that we have 12 stores that we have identified as new item stores. And so, like for last fall, when we went through the listing cycle, those items that we brought in were first distributed within, to those 12 new item stores. Not every item goes to all 12. It depends on the item and the category and the role that that item plays in the category, but some subset of those 12 stores. And so that's the initial distribution push, is the items go to those 12 stores. And then we have been planogramming our stores by store. And so then what you have noticed is you get kind of that hit of the 12 stores, and then it's it can be like a slow trickle of distribution expanding, which has been a factor of, as we do each store's planograms, we incorporate those items as appropriate into their new sets. But it's a slow process. We go one by one through each store until we cycle through all 52 of them. And so we are looking to make an evolution and a change in that distribution process. And so our plan for this spring cycle is that we are going to move to a distribution strategy that's based on category instead of stores. And so, for example, vodka, as we go through this listing cycle, we will be updating all of the vodka planograms for every store in the system. So when the new items go to distribution, you will see that they will go out all at one time across the network to the what we deem appropriate distribution footprint for that item. And so it should be a much faster path to market. It should, you know, a lot of the feedback that we received is that it becomes a little difficult to monitor and to understand what ongoing volumes are going to look like for forecasting when you only go to a limited number of stores and then you have that trickle effect. And so in response to that, this is one of the ways where we've said, how can we get items to market faster and how can we get them to broader distribution faster? So obviously some big changes and evolution to our system and our processes. And hopefully we don't have too many hiccups along the way because it is a big change. But that is the plan that we will initiate with this current listing cycle. Okay, I'm just kind of glancing over here. This is a question. We do get this one quite a bit too. Is there kind of a maximum or desired or limited number of submissions that we would like to see? You know, what we ask is that you are very, you know, thoughtful and disciplined in what you submit to us. You see the team. Erica is doing all of the spirits and beer, and Doug is doing all the wines. And so the more submissions they get, it just becomes a lot more challenging for the amount of time and quality that we can put into the evaluation of those. So I know that people have asked, like, what's the better strategy to submit fewer items that are very targeted and have you know, very specific identifiable like roles and unmet needs they're playing, or to do the blast approach that you're going to submit a whole bunch of items and that gives you a higher chance that one of them will be selected. And yes, we encourage you definitively to go the route of the former and be the pre-screen that you are, you know, putting forth the items that you feel have the most potential. Part of the reason why we wanted to be really transparent in sharing what the evaluation criteria are so that you can match your submissions against those. If you have an item that, you know, you don't think is going to pass against those criteria, then it's really not in anybody's best interest to submit it. So yeah, please, you know, just please be thoughtful and bring forth the best opportunities for us. In these last few minutes, Doug or Erica, anything else that's highlighted or come up a few times that would be worth talking as a full group? Okay. Well, with that, thank you for your time. Thank you for participating in this. We will send out follow-up. And if you have any other questions or feedback to share, please feel free to reach out to me, anyone else on the team. You know, the kind of bigger, more all agency standpoint, as Erica offered up at the beginning of the call. She is happy to engage with you in any of that. And yeah, just really appreciate you taking the time to spend with us and getting to work with you. And here we go. Spring listing cycle.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.